Katz and Cosby, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, we have Ari Fleischer, the great White House press secretary, the former one, and a great political observer. Ari, first, let's get your thoughts on Iran.
Who does he trust least?
Yeah, who do you trust least? Don't say us, okay?
Anybody whose last name ends with open parentheses, D, close parentheses.
Or has three names.
Yeah, or has three names. Ari, where do you think this is headed? Because it is interesting. I also said Marco Rubio said it's not eye for an eye, it's head for an eye. They sound like they're going to go full throttle.
You never know with President Trump. You know, the problem he's going to have, though, is he can only make these big, boisterous promises so often if they're going to have any deterrent effect. And he's made many. You know, we've heard it before. He's going to, abolish their civilization. That was the first one he did, which I thought was quite effective because it was first. And that led to the MOU. That led to the peace agreement. So, he uses it to bluster the other party to the negotiating table, and I hope those days are over. There should be no negotiating table anymore. So I'm less focused on his rhetoric and more on his actions at this point.
Yeah, and it seems like there are some actions. I'm just looking at Ed Cox here, too, because they're moving in a lot more troops. They're moving in medics, as Ed just brought in. They seem to be moving in a lot of special ops folks, so that could signal also. So it seems like he's backing it up, at least physically, with preparation, Ari. So that also carries a powerful signal, because I agree with you. These people, you can't trust them. They're not really negotiating.
Yeah, there's only one thing they understand, and that's the language of the Middle East, which is the strongest wins. And we have to be the strongest, and that means militarily. And the president was on his way to proving that. And I hate to say this because I support what he's done, and I continue to support him. But the biggest mistake he made was the ceasefire. If he had kept his foot on the gas back in March, we would not be where we are today. I think a lot of this would have already been wound up and successfully done.
Yeah, I think a lot of people agree that it's time to finish the job. We have Governor David Paterson.
Ari, I think you're right. Around that time in March, when they had when they were trying to find a way to get together and solve the whole thing, the deal that we offered Iran was really great for them, because we said you can't use nukes. They seemed to agree with that. But then they were going to give them a whole lot of latitude in the Straits of Hormuz and other places. And what I thought that Iran should have done was have taken that deal. But that's not what they want. It's almost like they have a death wish.
Well, they do have a death wish because they, one, always think we're bluffing. And two, what do they have to lose? The IRGC and the mullahs who are in power, they know there's not another nation for them. They're not going to get to go back to Paris and live the high life. And they know that if it comes to their streets in Tehran, the people will rise up against them. So there's really no negotiating with them because there's no soft landing for them. There's only one landing for them, and it should be a hard landing. And that is what we could have and should have been doing from February, March, April, and I don't think we'd be talking about this now.
Ed Cox.
So, look, 2 aircraft carriers can only do so much. That's 2 runways, and there's a lot of moving parts in that. The Navy can only do so much. So this is a massive buildup for an attack, overwhelming attack on Iran. What role do you think the Israelis will play in it?
Well, I think right now, none. I do think President Trump really sees this as America's fight. He thinks if Israel gets in, it complicates things. I don't think that's true. I think that we saw that last June, and then I think we saw that in February and March when Israel was an unbelievably powerful military ally of ours. And one fact in the Middle East that is always true is they want to ride the strongest horse. And when you look at Kuwait, and you look at Qatar, when you look at the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, if they are convinced that the United States and Israel mean it this time and will bring the end of Iran, they'll be with us. If they think there's any hedging, any doubt, any equivocation, they'll do what they always do, and there is nobody better at playing both sides of the streets than Arab nations. The United Arab Emirates is the one real exception to that. They've been stalwart in standing up to Iran. But many of those other nations will go back to their double business if we are not resolute.
Yeah, that's a powerful statement. Boy, that is. Now, what do you expect from the Democrats in the middle of all this? I found, this week are really troubling. Gary Peters, and we had Mike Rogers in yesterday, who's running, of course, for that seat there. But Gary Peters, who is leaving, he's the Democrat in the Senate. He was grilling Pete Hegseth this week, the Secretary of War, like, you're not winning this war. Why should we give you a dime? Da-da-da. Why'd you go in? Where do you see it going politically?
The Democrats, sadly, have to say that we're losing the war because they don't want Trump to win anything, and including a war.
But that's rooting against America, Ari.
It's rooting, absolutely. It is rooting against America. The only one who's really got this figured out is Senator John Fetterman. All the other Democrats out of their disgust with Donald Trump just don't even want him to get a war right. They don't want him to be successful. I think if he completes this and the government of Tehran falls and it's followed by a pro-Western group of people, I think the Democrats are still going to oppose it because they just can't bring themselves to say anything good about President Trump. So they've made themselves just the opposition party on this, not the loyal opposition, just the opposition party on the question of war. And I lament it because when our troops are engaged, you would want everybody in our country to be for us. Yeah,
100%. Judge Weinberg.
All right, so what are your thoughts about the DSA takeover of the Democratic Party?
I am all for it.
Crazy. We played crazy yesterday. It fits.
I'm just glad at least some Democrats like Van Jones have started to speak out to say that this is not good for Democrats. This is not a big tent. This is a movement that has to be defeated and stopped. That is exactly how the Democrats need to look at the rise of the socialists. This was the equivalent of inside the Republican Party, there was a group of, and I will say it this way, David Duke, Ku Klux Klan leaders, people who have a horrendous agenda that is going to harm our country. You don't bring them into your tent because you want to win elections. You kick them out of your tent because you want to win elections. That is what Democrats have to recognize about the rise of socialism, about people like incumbent Congressman Chevalier, who founded a group dedicated to the ending Western civilization. The words on the webpage of the group, the total eradication of Western civilization. You've got in Colorado a candidate who blamed September 11th on the United States. Whose tent is big enough to say, yeah, we blame September 11th on the United States? You have in Queens, Claire Valdez, who wants to nationalize the airline industry. You've got the most lunatic ideas that are horrible for the Democrats, and they need to put up a wall and keep these socialists out and work to defeat them everywhere. And if the socialists win, do not caucus with them in Congress.
Yeah, the problem is, like you said, you brought up Fetterman, and I'm trying to think of like,
give me another senator.
Right. Another senator.
Give me another Democratic senator.
Right. And then I've seen Gottheimer a little bit on the House side, but that's about it. I mean, how sad is that, Ari?
I remember the days on the Hill when Scoop Jackson and Sam Nunn, there were so many powerful conservative Democrats who were strong national defense. They wanted America to win the Cold War no matter who the president was. And that's how come we won the Cold War. There was bipartisan support for defeating the Soviets and winning the Cold War. If today's Democrats were there, I don't think they would support winning the Cold War. I think they make excuses for the Soviet Union.
I sadly agree. And that what a sad partisan state that they're in. We can have Governor Patterson.
There's one very dangerous situation that we really haven't talked about, and that is the polling nationally. People under 40 who are Democrats, they're the ones who are supporting this, and that's the reason why a lot of Democrats who know better, who deep in their hearts should be acting more differently, are becoming shills for a group of people that have nothing to offer the country.
Yeah, that's where all the energy and the momentum for the socialist movement is coming from. It's really well-educated. It's people with postgraduate degrees or college degrees. You see often... Chevalier said life in New York City is unaffordable, she says, as a 34-year-old college student. She's still working on her PhD. She's been doing it
and you know what, Ari? She won 5% of the vote in a congressional district that had 700,000 people. She won by 2,500 votes. If anybody had worked hard on the other side, And I tried to help the sitting congressman. He wouldn't even return my phone calls. And she won. And that's how it's happening all over.
So, Ari,
and that's how AOC got started too. She won in a low primary summer turnout in the primary, and
exactly
went on to win all her congressional races.
The latest in New York is that AOC is going to run for president, and she's number one in position.
Yeah, there's a new poll. It's a University of New Hampshire
22%.
poll. 22, Buttigieg 21, Harris has 5.
Yeah, and
sounds
the
right.
next thing is that Zorhan is going to run for the U.S. Senate seat.
This is not happening, John. I know they say it. I know it's a rumor. That's not going to happen.
What do you think, Ari?
I've always doubted AOC would take a step up because she's famous. She's got a platform. Why does she need a different title in front of her name? Except for president. That's why I never thought she really would run against Schumer. But except for the presidency, and if she starts to really think she can win the presidency, and remember how close Bernie Sanders came in 2020. If Elizabeth Warren had dropped out earlier, Bernie Sanders would have defeated Joe Biden in the Democratic primaries. So if she thinks she can win the presidency, someone's got to fill the socialist lane in this election. There will be a socialist lane inside the Democratic Party.
Yeah, there will be.
And this is just a question of her courage now at this point. I don't think it's a question of can she win. I think the path is potentially there in 2028 for socialists to take the Democrat Party when it just narrowly wasn't there in 2020.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Thank you so much for coming on, and let's keep praying for America, and let's move forward, and we'll catch up with you again real soon.
Thank you, Ari, so much.
Great job for America. Thank you.
You too. We love you, Ari.